Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and we've got a lot of stuff to discuss today. First, it's time for a change with Taijuan Walker. I'll tell you why, and why last night was the final straw, at least for me personally. Also, we had a surprise extension this morning on a Saturday. Who saw this coming with Cristopher Sanchez? I'll tell you what happened and why it's awesome for the Phils, and also we'll preview Game 2 of their matchup with the Arizona Diamondbacks, a continued NLCS rematch. All of that on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for checking us out. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies, your number one place for daily Philadelphia Phillies content. And today's episode of the Locked On Phillies podcast is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Well, don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. You're going to want to take care of your taxes, and the Phillies are going to want to take care of this Taijuan Walker situation as quickly as possible. The Phils lost last night to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Taijuan Walker was just not good once again. It's been a string of a couple starts where he looked to be coming out of the slump, and then last night was more of the same of what we saw earlier on in the season. And it's more bad than good at this point. And I'm over it. I'm at the point. Last night was the final straw for me. And part of it is who you have available in the bullpen. Like, you have Spencer Turnbull waiting in the wings, who was very, very good as a starter for this team. One of the best starters in baseball when he was in the rotation. You move him to the bullpen. I have no issue with that decision at the time. But now the time has come for you to make a change, because every 5 days, Taijuan Walker is going out there and he is giving you a very difficult time at winning baseball games. Last night, his stat line, not great whatsoever. He went 4 innings. He allowed only 5 hits, but 4 earned runs, 3 walks, only 3 strikeouts. He gave up as many home runs as he had strikeouts. He had as many walks as he had strikeouts. He gave up more earned runs than he had strikeouts. It was not a good enough performance. And it's not that he can't throw strikes. He threw 77 pitches and 42 of them were strikes yesterday in his outing. It's just, he does not have an out pitch right now. There is no possible way you can continue to throw Taijuan Walker out there, especially when you have an option like Spencer Turnbull in the bullpen, ready and waiting. Frankly, I put out a tweet last night. I put out a couple that I want to tell you about. One, I tweeted out, Taijuan Walker feels like he's in the danger zone right now. I put that out the bat before he gave up his first home run of the ball game. And then he gave up another one. And then he gave up a double, and then the wheels were off the wagon. And you know how I could see it? He lost his command immediately. He wasn't really finding the strike zone in a safe spot. He was leaving balls up when they were strikes. He was just kind of throwing middle fastballs. And you can't do that at 91, 92 miles an hour without the prospect of potentially throwing a wipeout splitter, which he doesn't have right now. He's a one-trick pony, and that one trick is not a very good one. So I don't know how you possibly keep him in the rotation. I mean, the offense wasn't great last night for the Phillies. They had 7 hits, scored 4 runs, and some people look at that and say, okay, the offense needs to be better. I don't know. Trey Turner had a big home run. He had a 3 RBI night. It was a huge night for Trey Turner. Nick Castellanos had a home run. He's starting to kind of come out of it. He's batting .221 now. Edmundo Sosa, 2-hit night. You had guys contribute, right? But unfortunately, when you're behind the 8 ball early, you can't find a way out of that hole when your starting pitcher is giving up 4 runs in 4 innings. It's a very tough thing to overcome. And the bullpen cannot be taxed every 5th day by Taijuan Walker only going 4 innings. It's not even like last year where he wasn't great at points, but he would eat innings. He hasn't gotten the job done. And I don't know how much longer the Philadelphia Phillies can withstand that. So that was the first week. It was very obvious to me when things went wrong. I think it was a mistake by Rafael Marchand. And I bet you, I guarantee you, If JT Realmuto was behind the dish last night, when I put that tweet out, that would have been a moment where you notice something, you go out, you talk to the pitcher. I was sitting there watching the game, making this signal. If you can't see, it's like the hand talking emoji, like the emoji, motion, I should say. That's my millennial brain rot. But you see that from dugouts in lower level baseball, where you say, hey, go talk to the guy. Go talk to your pitcher. Give him a breather. Let him collect his thoughts. I was doing that for like 4 straight at-bats as he gave up home run after home run. So Rafael Marchand needs to know that. That's the downside of having a young catcher who's not used to working with these guys. But also kind of – and here's the thing, right? People might say, oh, well, if you see that, then Rob Thompson's got to go get him. Not in the 3rd inning. You can't. You have to hope he gets out of it. You kind of got to wear that one if you're the starting pitcher, because the bullpen's been rather taxed lately. The starting pitching hasn't been quite as good as you'd expect it to be from everybody. So you're looking at a situation where you can't go deep into the pen, especially the first day of a 3-game series, and you're just kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. But you know how you avoid that is you don't pitch Taijuan Walker. You don't throw him as a member of the starting rotation. And last night was the final straw for a couple of reasons. I already listed a few of them, but here's the biggest one. I'm going to read you this tweet verbatim from my account about Taijuan Walker's start last night. The Philadelphia Phillies' expectations are too high to have Taijuan Walker pitching every 5th day. It's time for Spencer Turnbull to get a spot in the rotation back. It's as simple as that. You're too good of a team to afford close to guaranteed loss. No, see, it's not a guaranteed loss because this offense is still really good, and Taijuan Walker's not giving up 10 runs every time out, but you're too good to put a guy out there that's probably going to put you in a position to lose every 5th day. You just can't do that. You're not going to keep pace with some of the best teams in baseball. You could still be good. You could still potentially win the division because Atlanta is somewhat of a mess. You could still potentially, win the National League, at least top seed in the regular season, because of the buffer you built for yourself. Like, I believe the Phillies can hang on with Taijuan Walker, but I don't want to see this team hang on. I don't want to see this team like tread water. I want to see this team stay on an incredible pace, and Taijuan Walker is making that downright impossible right now. Especially with all the injuries to the offense, you cannot afford to be in a situation where you have a pitcher going out that isn't going to get the job done. And that's what Taijuan Walker is right now. So here's where the conversation goes, right? What do you do with him? That's always kind of been the question. And I know some people will be like, oh, I don't care. DFA him, send him down, trade him, all of this stuff. You can't cut off your nose to spite your face. You need to be realistic about what the possibility is that Taijuan Walker can still contribute to this baseball team. And that's a non-zero chance, right? It's not a no chance situation that Taijuan Walker figures something out where he can help this baseball team. He's not pitching in the postseason, though. So, I don't know. You move him to the bullpen. What does it really do? I guess that's where you would want to put him. If you DFA him, somebody else is going to claim him on waivers. Like, you're just not going to – you're not going to get him through waivers. You're not going to get him to the minor leagues. It's not going to happen. He's not going to accept going to the minor leagues. I don't believe. Maybe he will. Maybe they'll do – like, this would be the ideal scenario. He says, oh, my back's bothering me. You send him down to the minor leagues, put him on the 10-day injured list, do the whole fake injury to get a rehab quote unquote start, and give him some time to regroup. But I don't know if he's willing to do that. That's a lot of pride you have to swallow to accept that, or maybe just accepting going down. Like, you can't expect a player to do that. Some guys will, not everybody will, and I don't think that's a fair expectation. So that leaves you with 2 options: trade him or put him in the bullpen. Trading him doesn't seem realistic. I don't know who's taking that contract. I don't know who wants Taijuan Walker. I don't know what team would be buying and thinks that Taijuan Walker is a good piece for them. It just does not make sense. You could, I guess, use him as a throw-in to another team's trade, but like, changing salaries is not a thing in Major League Baseball. It's not like in the NBA where you can dump salary with a guy, or football, you can dump salary with a guy to stay under the cap and make the cap numbers work. No, baseball is no salary cap. So it's not like a team's going to take on a player because they have to match salaries. No, they're just going to say, we don't want Taijuan Walker. So trade is off the table. I guess you just kind of, if he stays with the Major League team, if the Phillies do indeed decide they want to go in a different direction than Taijuan Walker in the starting rotation, then what you're going to do is you're going to put him in the bullpen. He's going to just kind of chill there and maybe get like a long relief opportunity in blowouts and see what it looks like. It's basically starting from square one at a different position. It's not a great spot for him to be personally. It's not a great spot for the Phillies to have to put him in, but that's kind of where we're at right now. The final question I have on this: how likely is it that the Phillies actually do it? And I'd say it's more likely than not that he stays in the rotation. The Phillies are still a very good baseball team. Their record is 49-26. That's 23 games over 500 last time I checked. So they're still in a great spot. They're still in first place in the NL East. They're still, I believe, in first place in the National League. Let me just double check that. I don't know what happened with the Dodgers yet. They're still first place in the National League easily. So there's not time for panic as a team, but I think there is plenty of time for panic with Taijuan Walker. I need to see a change. I think the fan base needs to see a change. I think, honestly, some of his teammates would probably feel like there's time for a change. You can't be fighting for wins when the guy on the mound is not getting the job done. Plain and simple. So I'm calling on the Phillies to make a change. We'll see if they do. I don't think they will. We'll see if it works out. They've made good decisions this year. I think their first bad one has been to stick with Taijuan Walker. It's the first thing that I feel that the Phillies have done wrong. But the Phillies did something right this morning, something very right. And I had no idea this was coming. I woke up to this news. It was kind of wild. I was just scrolling Twitter in bed, and next thing you know, we got some breaking news on a new contract extension for a Philadelphia Philly. Who is it? Well, I'll tell you coming up next, and we'll get into a conversation about why it's such a good move for the Phillies. So we'll talk about that in just a second. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at Stitch Fix. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. Maybe Taijuan Walker needs to talk to our friends over at Stitch Fix for a confidence boost to get back to the pitcher he wants to be. I don't believe that that's out of the realm of possibility for Stitch Fix. They can do it all, because with Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. I mean, you can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist. They help you find new on-trend favorites that'll work for you. I don't know what's in these days. You don't know what's in these days. Stitch Fix knows what's in and what's going to look good. You just give your stylist your size, style, budget preferences, and you order back boxes when you want and how you want. You don't have to do a subscription or anything. No, you just pick when and where. And they send 5 just for you pieces plus outfit recommendations, pro styling advice. They tell you how to wear it, what to match it with. I keep what works. If you don't like it, you can send back the rest. It's always right. But there are some times where it's just like, oh, I have something similar to that already, or oh, it's not really necessarily my style all the way. That's fine. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy to send stuff back. If you don't love something, you can just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. So go ahead and check it out, because they got style that makes you feel as you look. Now's the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB, because you'll get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. You just go to stitchfix.com/MLB. You'll get that $100 off. Again, stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kid fixes. All right, let's move on to the surprise breaking news of the day. I had no idea this was happening. I had not heard a whisper about this. This is completely out of nowhere. But this morning, I saw on Twitter a wild update. Cristopher Sanchez just got a random extension out of nowhere. Now, he absolutely deserves it, but I'll read you John Heyman's tweet that broke the news word for word. Breaking: Cristopher Sanchez and the Phillies are finalizing a 4-year extension plus options to buy out his arbitration years and give the Phils additional control. Sanchez, 27, wouldn't have been eligible for arbitration until 2026, was in AAA last year. He's 4-3 with a 2.91 ERA. So what is this? What does this mean? Buying out the arbitration and giving that 4-year extension. It's a show of confidence in the player, and it's also locking down with those options, giving you the chance to get this guy at a lower rate than what you think you're going to get. The Braves do this all the time. And it drives us insane as Phillies fans to see them get high-level players for low-level cost because they're buying out arbitration years and starting to pay them a little bit more now, so you pay them less on the back end. And Cristopher Sanchez is a great candidate for this. Here's why. Because you already have Zach Wheeler locked down long-term. You have Aaron Nola locked down long-term. The goal is to have Ranger Suarez locked down long-term. That's going to be a much tougher negotiation because he's closer to actually hitting free agency. He's going to command significantly more money than Cristopher Sanchez. So that's going to be a little bit trickier. That's why this deal got done first. But I imagine the Philadelphia Phillies are not going to let Ranger Suarez walk. That would be criminal if they did that. So you say, okay, we've got 2 of our top 3 guys locked down. We're going to have the third one locked down when we work that out. Why don't we lock in Cristopher Sanchez? He's been outstanding this year, one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball. He's a good lefty in this rotation that you really, really need, that feels like this kind of spot that you don't totally have. He's a lefty, but kind of a crafty lefty with good movement on his stuff, where Ranger Suarez, he's got good movement, but Ranger Suarez is more of a surgeon. We've talked about the different types of pitchers on this pitching staff, and they all fit together so well. It's very hard to figure out how you're going to attack each of these pitchers when you face them back-to-back days. So Cristopher Sanchez has been a valuable part of this rotation. Now you have 4+ arms in this rotation for the foreseeable future. And this is with assumption, of course, that Ranger Suarez is going to get a contract. Again, it'd be crazy for the Phillies not to do it. I'm just going to assume they're going to do it. But I can't be happier for Cristopher Sanchez. Think about it. There were times when we didn't know if he was a starter. There were times when we didn't know if he was going to be in the major league bullpen or if he was even a major league arm. He had to grow up very, very quickly because of issues with Andrew Painter and Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker and different guys that have gone down, and he stepped into a bigger role, and he has really, really done an amazing job of filling that role as well as he can. Again, a 2.91 ERA this year. He's up among the National League ERA leaders, and he's the 4th starter on this ball club. So what does that mean? Is it the 4 aces like you saw back in 2011? Not exactly. I mean, the name value isn't there, but is the talent level there? I don't know. Let's look at it. Is Zach Wheeler a future Hall of Famer? The argument could be made. Is Aaron Nola a future Hall of Famer? He's going to need to do more. But it's not far-fetched. It's not like an immediate no. Ranger Suarez, it's too early. He is having a very good year. If he continues on this path, I mean, sky's the limit. Cristopher Sanchez, we're not having that conversation, but how many of those guys in that rotation were a Hall of Fame pitcher? Roy Halladay, that's it. So you had one, and then you had guys like Cole Hamels. So Cole Hamels' retirement night last night, that was awesome. Great job by the Phillies, by the way, on that. An amazing job on that night. That deserves mentioning. They do everything so right. But you had Cole Hamels, a great pitcher, a legend in the Phillies organization, not a Hall of Famer. Roy Oswalt, a great pitcher elsewhere, pretty good here. A high-level arm, not a Hall of Famer. Cliff Lee, a great pitcher, like one of the best pitchers of the era. Fringe Hall of Fame guy. Like, probably not going to, I don't know. Maybe, but the thing is, you look at all this and you say, okay, this rotation with Cristopher Sanchez locked down is now in that atmosphere. It's more like that 2011 rotation than it is unlike that 2011 rotation. And you have this rotation locked down for longer. So, I mean, this is a beautiful thing. Shout out Dave Dombrowski, too, for being active and getting this done in the middle of the season, out of nowhere when no one is expecting it. This is why you need to not worry about the trade deadline. This is why you need to not worry about the offseason. This guy is a stone-cold killer, Dave Dombrowski. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's one of the best, if not the best executive in baseball. He gets this done every time. He's done it with different organizations, talking about Lock Hall of Famers. He is a Lock Hall of Famer as an executive. All he does is go places and make winning moves. And he made another one here. If there's ever anything you think, wow, the Phillies should absolutely do this, he's going to do it. That's why I'm not worried about the Ranger Suarez thing. That's why I wasn't worried about this offseason. That's why I'm not worried about the trade deadline. And that's why I'm not worried about this move to extend Cristopher Sanchez, because it just makes so much sense. Happy for Chris to get this done. Happy for the Phillies to lock him up. It's just more continuity of a team that has been one of the best in baseball over the past 3 years. It's great. There is no other take on that besides that one, in my opinion. So a fun Saturday news dump. And let me know in the comments if you agree, if you're happy about this extension, if the Phillies made the right move. Let me know what you think. I don't know how you could go against it, but by all means, there's a dissenting opinion to everything these days. Let me know your thoughts on the Cristopher Sanchez extension in the comments. Coming up next, that was some big news. So it jumped ahead of our Game 2 preview, but we'll talk about Game 2 between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. I think the Phillies are going to beat the brakes off this team the rest of this series. I'll tell you why as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. But first, let's talk about Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Phillies, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's a year-round job. And you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season's over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, even seize your property. Do not let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. It's like having Trey Turner pinch hit for, well, let's go with Christian Pache last night. Not great from the Phillies outfield. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, that is great. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and just need to find a way to correctly file your winnings, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below for more details. Okay, preview of Game 2 time. And the first thing that we need to talk about being different is the outfield. The bottom part of that order needs to be better. I mean, David Dahl, over. Brandon Marsh, over. Christian Pache, over. Whit Merrifield, over. Like, it can't happen. You can't have guys like that just go out there and give you nothing. That's going to kill your chances to win ball games. And last night wasn't totally on the offense, but it wasn't exactly, like I said, a stellar offensive performance by the Philadelphia Phillies. And it wasn't against that great of a pitcher. Here's what I will say, though. The pitching is not getting any better for the Arizona Diamondbacks in this series. You've got Tommy Henry coming up today. He has a 6.23 ERA, a 2.2 win-loss record, and 34 2/3 innings pitched. He's a lefty, so you're going to see probably another one of those weird lineups. I don't know if they're going to let Brandon Marsh start. I don't know if they're going to pinch hit him again late in the game like they did last night. I don't know what the Philadelphia Phillies have in store for that. But what I do know is that Tommy Henry, whoever he's facing on this Philadelphia Phillies roster, is not going to have as much success as Zach Wheeler is going to have against that Diamondbacks team. Wheeler's got a 2.84 ERA, a 1.01 whip, 92 innings pitched. I mean, that all is after having a really rough outing last time out. You know what Zach Wheeler doesn't do? He doesn't have 2 bad outings in a row. Also, during last night's game, a couple of the guys went down for the Diamondbacks, and they already have so many dudes on the injured list. They've got position players. They got pitchers. They got everybody on their team is basically banged up or on the injured list. They're a better team than what they look like right now. They're even 500 after their win over the Phillies last night. But they're not playing like a better team. And why do I think the Philadelphia Phillies are just going to beat the brakes off this team? That's essentially it. The Diamondbacks are getting less healthy. The Phillies are motivated. The pitching is getting worse as the series goes on when you look at the starting pitchers for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's getting better for the Phillies. I mean, we'll talk about Game 3 in another episode tomorrow, so I'm going to continue to put together everything, and we'll review Game 3 after it gets done, but I'll talk about that as well here. Cristopher Sanchez takes the mound tomorrow with his brand new extension in tow, 2.91 ERA against, you're looking at Slade Ciccone, which cool name, not a cool ERA, 5.9 ERA on him tomorrow. A righty too, so that's an even better jump in the right direction for the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know. It's just a major advantage for the Phillies in the next 2 games. When you look at the money line, when you look at the ESPN analytics, they're minus 250 on the money line today. That's a gigantic favorite. If the Phillies lose this game today, I'll be dumbfounded. I think they're going to go out there and absolutely hang it on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The over-under 8.5 runs, I take the over because I think the Philadelphia Phillies are going to unleash on Tommy Henry and this Diamondbacks bullpen. The ESPN analytics 73.4% chance to win today's game. And for Sunday's game, a little bit earlier one, 11:35 a.m. Kind of weird on that for Sunday. So keep an eye on that. Today is 4:05 p.m. Tomorrow's game, 69% chance to win that game with Cristopher Sanchez on the mound against Slade Ciccone. So I don't know. I don't see any way that the Philadelphia Phillies don't win these next two games. It sucks that they lost game one of the series. I put out a tweet last night that I think my wording was guaranteeing that the Phillies are about to beat the brakes off this team for the next couple games. And I still feel that way. It was not just like I'm mad over the game, so I'm going to say some random stuff. Yeah, tough one. The Phils are going to beat the brakes off this team the next two games. Book it. So I didn't use the word guarantee, but I used the word book it. I don't know. I feel very strongly about this one. I think that a couple of balls were squared up that the Phillies were not rewarded for. A couple of nice plays were made by the Diamondbacks defensively, and that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen all series long. And the pitching that you got yesterday from your guys in the bullpen and, of course, Arizona on the starting part of the equation, much better than Taijuan Walker, what they got out of Jordan Montgomery. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned. Pretty good start by him, who has not been good this year. 5 strikeouts, only 1 home run allowed, that home run to Trey Turner. Like, you're not getting that out of Tommy Henry and Slade Ciccone. I don't know how many more ways I could say it. This team's going to win these next 2 games. Take it to the bank. But, yeah, it'll be a very interesting – the other thing, too, one thing to keep in mind. This is smart if you're trying to make money on these games. If you want to go to our friends over at FanDuel, place a wager, or if you're going to go to Prize Picks and play daily fantasy – go ahead and check out home runs and look at the over for home runs, because that ball was flying yesterday at Citizens Bank Park because of the heat. When it gets hot like that, the ball just jumps off the bat. There were some monster home runs hit in last night's game. There are going to be some monster home runs hit the rest of the series. Right now, I'm recording this at 11:30 a.m. It's already 91 degrees. It feels like 98 degrees out there. Just looking at the hourly, it's going to get to an actual temperature of 98 degrees. So that's going to feel like probably, 105. My goodness, is that going to be crazy. Also, just a quick note, too, as far as the game's concerned, a little bit of weather in the forecast. It looks like there's some scattered thunderstorms in the Philadelphia area starting around 4. They'll be done by like 6. So this game is going to be gotten in. I just don't know if there may be like a minor delay at some point, or they're going to have to play through some weather, whatever the case may be. It's going to be hot. The ball's going to jump. That's why I like the over and runs. That's why I like the Phillies to tank Tommy Henry. And I think Zach Wheeler is going to be really good today to bounce back from a rough performance. So there you have it. It's been a wild Saturday, honestly. We got to talk about changing the rotation. We got to talk about an extension that was given to Cristopher Sanchez. And we're still in the middle of a series with the Arizona Diamondbacks that, one more thing, I need you to listen to me. I wanted to make sure I reminded myself to say this, and I need you to take this to heart. I promise this is the case. If the Philadelphia Phillies lose this series to the Arizona Diamondbacks, it is not the end of the world. Okay? Do you need to hear me say it again? If they lose the series to the Diamondbacks, it's not the end of the world. Nobody freak out. Nobody say this is the same old team. Nobody say this, that, the other thing, overarching thing. They're still going to be the best team in the National League, one of the best teams in baseball. They're still going to be an unbelievable baseball team. Okay? I don't see it happening. I don't think it's likely, but there is a chance. And if it happens, I don't want my mentions and the comments below this episode just devolve into chaos as the fan base eats ourselves alive. Like, it's not productive. It's not rational. They're going to win the series anyway. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking in with us again on Locked On Phillies. Tomorrow afternoon, after the game, 11:35 a.m. start, I'm going to have a recap of Game 3 of the series. Hopefully, we're talking about 2 wins and getting to everything there. Also, just a little bit of a heads up, I'm going to be recording the postcast episode. Mark Farzetta, who normally does that, has a wedding today. So you can go to the Locked On Philadelphia Sports YouTube channel later today. As soon as the game's over, I'll be posting an episode on there about what we're watching from the game and what we saw. So you haven't gotten a post-game reaction video from me a little bit. I'm going to try and keep it calm. I'm going to try and not say any bad words if they lose or bad words if they win. I get pretty excited over these games. But go ahead and check that out if you will. Give that some love. But the next time I'll talk to you on this feed in this format will be Sunday afternoon. So until then, congrats to Cristopher Sanchez, Taijuan Walker. Move to the bullpen, please. I'm begging you, and please beat the Diamondbacks, or I'm going to become the Joker. Thank you again for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. I'll talk to you next time on our next episode.